One of my favorite things to do is to visit new zoos. A lot of people may think that going to the zoo is going to be the same no matter where you are, but every zoo is going to have different animals. Even if they have the same animals, they're going to display them differently. They're going to have a different focus on conservation and education. So visiting a zoo is very, very exciting for me. I have tried sharing those visits with you guys as well, because I know a lot of other people like seeing zoos as well. But I have decided that moving forward, I'm going to take a closer look at several key attributes that you find in a zoo. That way, you all have a little bit more information available to make the best choice on whether or not you want to maybe make a road trip or a trip to visit a new zoo. So if you guys want to know a little bit more about how I'm going to be doing this moving forward, stick around. That's going to be coming up right after this. Hey there guys, this is Jack over at Hi Redbird, where I am tirelessly working to find new ways to make the keeping of exotic animals and pets more exciting, more affordable, and ultimately more enjoyable. Now, one of the most enjoyable things for me is going to visit zoos. I love to see a little piece of nature that is all collected for me to easily walk through, to visit. It gives me ideas for ways that I want to do things at home. And it ultimately just makes me really, really happy. But I've decided that moving forward, I want to take a look at several key attributes that you find at a zoo. I'll be able to talk about these as I move forward, look at them as I move forward, so that I can provide a little bit more information and better detailed information on whether or not you may want to visit any particular zoo. Now, the aspects I'm going to be taking a look at are pretty straightforward. They are going to be something that all zoos should be thinking of, should be implementing. Probably the first aspect that has to be talked about with a zoo is going to be animal collection planning. So not just does the animal get every animal they can, shove them into their facility, but how well do they plan that collection? For example, having a bunch of animals that aren't going to do well in a particular climate, having a bunch of animals that are going to be very, very difficult to care for, isn't going to do a zoo any favors in terms of their collection planning. But putting together a collection that then lends itself to looking at things like conservation and education is going to be a mark in their favor. There are a lot of really cool things that can be done with collection planning, so it is something that I am excited to be taking a look at. Obviously, when you go to a zoo, you also want to look at the animals. So exhibit design is going to be one of my favorite aspects when I go to look at a zoo. That being said, I want to be clear. I am not just saying that the zoo with the newest exhibit is going to be the best. Because I have seen newer zoo exhibits where it seems like things were maybe looked over or rushed, and I have seen some older zoo exhibits that were utterly breathtaking. So instead, what kind of plan, what kind of immersive experience was intended for a guest at a zoo when it comes to exhibit design? Now, one of the things that is very, very important to me is going to be educational aspects. So I'm going to lump education and conservation in here. You're going to be hard pressed to find a modern zoo that doesn't do conservation, but I think it falls under education because educating your guests on how coming to the zoo helps animals in the wild, and more importantly, what are things that they can do when they are not at a zoo to help animals in the wild. I think those are going to be even more important aspects of conservation. And all of this falls under the umbrella of education. To me, visiting the zoo should be an informative experience. I'm going to be paying attention to things like what sort of programs are available, maybe animal shows, demonstrations, training demonstrations, things like the signage that is found in the zoo. Is it easily digestible? Is it, very, very easy to interact with? Is it challenging? All of that is going to fall under the umbrella of education. The overall aesthetic of a zoo is going to be important as well. Again, going to the zoo is, for me at least, an almost magical, immersive experience. I get to separate my life from this visit to the zoo, which is really, really weird since so much of my life is working with animals, working with the educational aspect you find at a zoo, working at zoos in general. But when I get to go there for myself, it's a very, very enjoyable experience. And for that, pretty much everything can fall into it. So that's going to include things like the exhibit design, the pathing, the horticulture and plantings that you're going to find throughout the facility. It's going to include things like the layout in the gift shop and the admissions booth, the layout of the map, because all of these things are going to have an overall impact on your visit to a zoo. The zoo has a very, very difficult to read map and maybe very rough or overly narrow paths. You may not enjoy going to that zoo. And even if that zoo has some of the best animals in the world, receiving some of the best care in the world, some of the best educational aspects in the world, if those other things are amiss, you're going to run into a little bit of trouble because guests aren't going to want to visit and they're not going to receive everything they possibly could from that facility. And the final thing that I do want to take a look at is the wow factor. So many zoos that I have been to, there is one or two exhibits or aspects that just stand out to me as something that was utterly incredible. And they don't necessarily have to be the biggest, most impressive thing. Sometimes it's a very, very small detail that is applied consistently across the zoo and can be found in a variety of different places. To me, that's a really, really cool thing that helps it to stand out as well. So what at the zoo has that wow factor? These are the factors that I am going to be looking at when it comes to visiting zoos moving forward. So I certainly hope that's going to help give you a little bit more information when I post videos of visiting different zoos. I do want to thank you all for choosing to watch this video. If you did, for choosing to watch any of the videos I put together. Part of why I put them together is that educational aspect, again, for me, is so critically important. If you guys like these videos, make sure you subscribe to the channel. That way you don't miss out on any of the fun. I have a lot more fun, zoo visits, projects, toys, enrichment, and other things coming up for you guys. So I definitely don't want you to miss out on that. I want to thank you again for watching this video, and I hope you guys have a great day. I do need to say a special thank you to my Patreon patrons. Not only do they support the Hi Redbird YouTube channel, but they do get special bonuses and additional content as well. I am also very thankful of my Hi Redbird channel sponsors. If you would like to find out more information, you can find that in the description section of this video. Thank you all so much.